Hey, welcome back for part two of the tutorials. Um, as you can see, I finished modeling our intersection. I just completed the northeast and south approaches. Just following with the same, concept that we covered in tutorial one. In this tutorial, I want to cover just two really simple components. Just the components we'll need to actually add in traffic into our model and assign them to the actual turns and specify the proportions. So before we jump into that, where we'll actually get that information, as you start to set up existing models and start to set up the inputs and vehicle routes. Typically, we'll collect a whole bunch of turning movement count data for intersections within our study area. Those usually look something like this when we get them back. It's usually a PDF that contains basically a summary every 15 minutes or so of the traffic for all the approaches. Usually a couple pages of summary, and then a really nice figure that just summarizes the peak hour. So the busiest hour in this case in the morning, and then the next one is the same for the PM. So in this case, we'll be using this data to set up our model and to actually set up or determine how many vehicles and network and what turns they actually take. I think in this tutorial, I'll do the same thing as the last. I'll just go one approach, and we can have a look at the model and even set up kind of our model to run a simulation. So the information we'll need is both this total. So we're going to need this total traffic inbound. So 1,137 cars entering the network. And then the split between the turns, so 133 left turns, 823 throughs, and 181 right turns. So the way we work that into our model is basically we're going to be using a couple network objects. So we're going to be using vehicle inputs. So this vehicle input, which we'll place at the sort of end of our approach, or the very kind of far end. This is what's going to generate traffic. So now that I coded that in, you see a list is opened up. You see that object in this list. And on the left, you'll see the quick view option. So you can edit parameters in the quick view instead of, in some cases, opening the little pop-up window or in the list. So here I want to edit the. So the total was 1137. So under volume, you can just type that in. And if we were to run our model, we should see cars generated now. They're just kind of traveling along. Most are probably going to travel through and just continue on through the intersection because we haven't assigned which direction, which turn they're on. Vehicles basically just use the connectors, the next connector, and link until they leave the network. So we see them kind of leaving at the far end here and just disappearing. So to actually specify how many vehicles should be turning in which turns, we'll actually use this object, vehicle routes, and we're going to put the starting point of this just after the input. So try to keep it somewhat close to the input, and then here we're going to define the end locations of these paths. So I'm purposely keeping these close to the intersection because I want to allow some space for us to reassign vehicles once we build this out from one intersection to a bit more of a network. But yeah, so once I completed those and I just clicked off of the network or the links, it added our static route to our list. And here in the secondary list, you can see the individual routes, so we can review them. And then here we're going to actually make one adjustment to one of the parameters. So the way the static routes work is it just assigns the volumes to the different options with this relative value. So right now, an even split traffic we get assigned to each turn. We can put whatever here. It can be percentages. In this case, I'm going to actually just put the count value. So for our left turn, we had 133 cars. For our through, we had 823. And then for our right turn, we had 181. So now that I've coded in our approaches, if you look here again, you see those values. So now I've coded in the actual turn volumes. If we go to run our model again, we should see some cars turning now. Okay, we saw a right turn and a left turn. But now, yeah, we should have vehicles actually making their turns because they're being assigned by that static group. Yeah, and that's it for tutorial 2.